Everybody, welcome back once more to some more Faceit League action. We are here in North America to end the night. Of course, we were down in South America, where I ended up having a 3-0 encounter. Dilpados taking on Factor X. But here today, we are focused on InControl taking on Nightmare Academy and Dex. Nightmare Academy, this is their first game of the season. In fact, the only Faceit team so far that has not played their first match up until now. And InControl have a bit of a rough start, but to be fair, went up against a really game Amplify and EU takeover to start things out.
Yeah, and they were able to take a map off Amplify, and me and you kind of went back and watched their game against EU Takeover, and they had opportunities in that series. It just wasn't enough in the end, and me and you both kind of agreed. Going into that third map, they really started to figure it out, but weren't able to get over the hump just enough, so that could have been a little bit of a closer series, but it took them a little bit too long to get warmed up into it. Nightmare Academy, or previously known as Nightmare Rotation, a completely different look for this team. A lot of new faces, still some faces that if you've been around for a while watching this team, even when they were known as Rotation, you still know a couple of them. Dirt probably being the most prominent of them all, the tank player, known as a hog one trick. But I mean, if you've been watching them at all in these past couple seasons, Dirt has definitely been able to be more flexible on it. However, Ilios is the first map. That could mean hog might be coming out here. It's going to be really interesting to see what InControl bans out here first.
Yeah, I mean,
hog is an option.
Hog is an option. Honestly, it's Ilios. Honestly, might be the right decision to just take care of it now. But we'll obviously see what the situation is. Dirt is not just a Roadhog player, but it is obviously just a very prominent, character that they play. But no, Brigitte is the first ban to get things started away, and to be fair, gets rid of the Ana Brig situation, can be difficult to deal with, and Brig overall is just a pretty versatile main support.
Yeah, I mean, Brig is Brig, especially into a lot of these Brig into a lot of these playstyles right now, especially on Ilios. You'd like to see dive be ran out a lot, and there's always that dive backline of Brig Ana that find a lot of value. We did see it a little bit earlier in South America, where I think it was the one time we kind of didn't see it find that much value at all. Both teams quickly went over to Lucio Kiri instead. But if you want to be running dive, or if you expect the other team to be running dive here, you really have to struggle around that now. Yeah, you could replace the Brig with a Kiri, with the Juno, maybe even a Lucio in there as well, but you're kind of playing a different kind of composition at the moment. Nightmare Academy has made their ban. We will figure it out here in a little bit, but it actually looks like Dirt not going to be a starting tank here tonight. I forget who else is a tank on this team. Is it Lucano?
I think Putter came in.
Oh, Putter? Okay. All right. Well, again, hey, first showing for this new Nightmare Academy team. It's going to be really interesting to see because, like we said, we've been able to go back and watch InControl in their first two series of this season, and there are some, not so good moments, but we kind of both feel like as the series gets going, they start to get a little bit better here. And hey, having two series under their belts here, they have to kind of be coming into this one at least with some of that rush shaken off. Nightmare Academy, on the other hand, not playing a single series just yet. You never know what that might do to a team like this. That rust is going to be there. But hey, we saw in South America last week that sometimes there's just no rust on some teams.
Yeah, some teams just don't get rust, which is crazy that is ever the case. But honestly, we'll see what the situation is. Either way, we're getting ready here momentarily to head into things. Obviously, that second ban you saw momentarily, it is D.Va. D.Va, I mean, I think another versatile character. We saw a ton of D.Va from Tizzy earlier on today. Got a ton of value, and I think Ilios is a perfect map for a D.Va just to get a lot of value. So, again, it's a safe pick, but a very reliable pick, too.
Yeah, very reliable pick. So good ban out here. Kind of forces you into, if you're going to play dive, it's going to be the Winston, the Hazard, the Doom, Wrecking Ball, potentially. It really might try to force these teams into a little bit of a brawly kind of play style. Or you could be looking at it like this. This was Nightmare Academy's ban. So it's really going to be interesting to see what they want. I was still thinking Dirt was going to be in, but Dirt's not going to be in here. So I think we're going to see these teams kind of lean more towards Brawl, even maybe towards a little bit of Zarya here, as we're starting to see that a lot. We watched InControl's first couple of series. They do like to play Zarya. I think they really look best on Ramatra. So this is a good map for Ramatra, in my opinion, as well. So you could see that coming in here. But as we head in, looks like Well is going to be our first point of the night here between these two. And it's going to be interesting to see what they want to come out with as well.
Yeah, we'll definitely find out momentarily what the case is. I mean, obviously without the Brig and the Diva in place, it's obviously, I think it's still relatively up in the air as to what both teams are going to want to go. But, I mean, you could see the Winston Commander very easily. The Hazard, always an option as well. And as we see things right now, at least over, Nightmare Academy makes sense, you know? You got what is basically, nowadays, almost a traditional dive style, but for the moment, still figuring out for control.
Yeah, I mean, you're seeing InControl at least teasing us with an Orisa, a hero that we haven't really seen them play. Now going over to the Winston as well. I think with the Diva being banned out, that's probably the smart move to go with here. Again, you could play Zara, and I would maybe expect him to play Zara on every other point here. But Winston for both sides. You see symmetric TP out, and then immediately a different hit scan coming out there. Gonna be the cast for Nightmare Wall for InControl. It's actually gonna be the Freya, which, I mean, we talked about a little bit earlier in South America. They're not necessarily busted anymore, and they're not necessarily out of the meta. They're in that sweet spot where they can really contribute a lot to any team.
Oh, 100% can contribute a lot. We'll see who's able to contribute the most at the beginning, though. The opening pick, so incredibly important right now. Kind of on that Winston. Winston's matching with Key. See who's going to be able to get away with this first selection right now. Smell on the Cassidy. Love to see it. Needs to find to shut down somebody, though. For the time being, it is just a war of attrition that nobody is able to win quite yet at that point. Gonna go back to its neutral. And Dex, I mean, this fight just hasn't fully started yet.
I mean, each team is waiting for the other one to maybe make a little bit of a misplay here. The dive's coming in there from Key onto Lucana. Putter trying to help out what they can, but eventually you're just going to see Lucana just back out, almost barely get out with a death right there, but Nightmare again getting so close to capping, just has to back off. Both these teams respecting the space here, again, waiting for an opportunity. Mickman going to be able to find Snow out first.
Yeah, it's the perfect opportunity now. You might have to go all out with this dive right here if you're Nightmare Academy. You have one more opportunity to get in here, try to cause that stall. See the dive going to come through momentarily, going to be able to stabilize over on the point. Carry does go down, so the opening of potentially here. For the time being, though, point is literally moments away from flipping over. Bull shot being thrown into the backside, doesn't get down to anybody. Carry going to make their way back as he has to restabilize a little bit. Pulse bomb thrown in. Putter manages to get connection onto one lead. Clover, and with that, we should inevitably see this point go over to Nightmare Academy.
Think about that. Two ultimates came out there and found value before a point cap was even capped. I mean, now you're going to see these teams come in really, really quickly. Kitsune and Rush, Beat can be ready here for InControl, but right now Nightmare already does have their own Kitsune Rush, not that far away from Beat and a Deadeye, so you have good stalling tools here if you're Nightmare Academy. You just need to be able to find the next pick. Mickman, though, very low, and I mean, I think they kind of got saved by the fact that Lucana did not notice.
Yeah, just didn't, and that's really unfortunate. But either way, double Kitsune Rush, double Beat. There is a lot that is likely to be invested here. Deadeye is just right out the gate. It's going to help secure the point for a little while longer. Nobody ultimately ends up peeking, though, so opportunity to come up for Carry to hit something with this copy. He's going to have it online. It hasn't found a target quite yet. In fact, it's a bit of an awkward situation right now. Rock in a hard place. You can call it as Beat activated by both sides. Lucana still has a Primal Rage sitting by. Key is right around the corner from having their own, as Lucana got to go mega aggressive with the fact that it is ready, but Key is going to be the first one to activate as Cameron goes down first and foremost, but a little bit of revenge. Both Jericho's taken out of action. Great move as once again, Lucana able to get a little bit of revenge. He's going to go in with the Primal Rage to be able to try to shut this one down. Is getting drilled into, but it's right now a 2v2 situation. Lucana just needs a little bit of stabilization right now. That bubble coming in handy momentarily.
Gonna be able to keep them alive here, but they need to get out. Gonna be able to regroup with their team here real quick as they come rushing back in. But Nightmare Academy doing a really good job of holding on to the point here. I mean, they could have easily given up, as we've seen some other teams in the past do that on soft resets, but they're holding on. Putter, though, a huge pick there early.
Yeah, Lucana goes and helps with that finish, and now everybody is hard separated. Cameron goes down. Another stick for Putter gets onto Mickman, and now this is a stalled game. It's even questionable if we even get to a proper overtime. One lick Clever, the only touch available, I believe, and it's going to come through, but unfortunately, no one with a reasonable recontention here. So 100-0 is the name of the game. But to be fair, it started very even. Actually, I think it was rather even throughout the entirety of this first round, but it was such a good job holding on to the point, because there were multiple times where I think Academy reasonably could have stepped off that point.
Yeah, Nightmare Academy did a really good job. Like I said, they held on to it at a point where we've definitely seen some other teams in both South America and North America here back off, have that soft reset, and go back in really quickly after the other team gets a cap. But again, Lucana, Putter, I think they did a really good job kind of just keeping that contest alive for as long as it could there. But like you said, a really close first round, even though it was 100-0, it essentially was just Nightmare Academy got the control of the point first and never really let it go, because that's kind of how both teams are playing it. They're both trying to keep even amount of space away from each other. It's very interesting to see something like that, because normally after a little bit, you just see one team get maybe a little bit over-aggressive. However, both these teams staying very sound here. And Snow, we're not going to be waiting very long this time before we get a first pick.
Oh, not at all. Found the double headshot, and unfortunately, Key is gone too. It's a good start for Nightmare Academy once again. Cameron, though, creates a little sense of uncertainty, but I don't think it's realistically going to be enough. Everyone else is going to reset. Academy gonna at the point first once again, as see if there's any adjustments, but for the time being, it looks like they're gonna stick to it.
And right, I mean, it's working out for them here. I think if you're in control, I don't know what swaps you could do here. You're still finding value, but you're just struggling to be able to clean up a kills here. Kaori, this is something we've seen from them in the past couple series. They like to go Echo. I like this kind of play here for them, but they need to be able to find the value. That focusing beam is going to be very important for them, and Key is also going to be very important for them as well. Right now, Kaori is going to be playing as an off angle, but they get punished immediately. However, Mickman finds a trade.
Yeah, it's a pretty good trade overall, but still something he's able to go in and eventually aggressive run to the point. Key diving the high ground. He's very much alone at the time being. He's going to get countered though. Putter's going to help finish off, and while you can throw bodies in, it's not going to mean a whole lot of anything. Another reset comes through. Putter goes to the chase, but One Leaf Clover gets out alive.
I mean, right now, though, if you're in control, it's been back and forth here, but Nightmare Academy slowly just starting to take everything that you're giving them here. You need to be able to find something here early on. Yeah, you're finding trades, but you need to be able to follow up on that. I mean, you got rid of Unred to get that fight going there. You need to find a little bit more without the Lucio there. Snow and Unred are kind of just playing off on this off angle here, able to find so much value while, I mean, really no one else is pressuring them enough here. This Nightmare Academy team is really playing a very mobile composition that can get themselves out of a sticky situation. Unred almost gets taken out very early there. But again, you're just looking for a follow-up. Key makes a dive, but there's no support there, as you see Lucana dive onto them.
Yeah, you have a stick come through. It doesn't get anybody, though. You see the pressure on the backside, but Harry is taken down. This is close to being a 200-0 right now, and the ultimates are way in their favor right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Nightmare Academy, you could play aggressively here. You see Putter play aggressively, use the pulse bomb, not going to be able to find any picks, but they did get some utility. Now you're looking, who's going to be the touch here? Cameron has to invest that Kitsune Rush, should probably get them 2 point. There's a touch, there's Kitsune Rush X from Lau, and Snow throws out the bomb.
Yeah, remember, no one has retouched quite yet. Eventually does come through. Everybody's immediately low, though. Bob is drilling everybody from the side. Putter has gotten away with 2. You could potentially see a third, but no one is going to recontest this point, and that is a dominant one for Nightmare Academy. I know it says rotation, but it's Nightmare Academy. All right. But, no, that is dominant by them, by all means.
Yeah, honestly, it really was. First point, we can go back and talk about how, I mean, it was very back and forth. It was even. They were respecting the space there, but Nightmare Academy, they still kept that space. They were still respecting it very much, but they started to find picks very early on in fights before the fights really even started there. In control, I mean, they look a little bit better than probably what we saw them play last week or in their last game on control, even though they could have won a point in their last game, but they looked like a team that had practiced a little bit more, has some more cohesion, where last week we saw maybe a little bit of overextension by some players. They were more focused on playing as a team here, but Nightmare Academy was able to punish them bit by bit by bit, and eventually they were taking huge chunks out of them on that second point.
100% were. I mean, that stabilization to high ground was really important. You saw Key take multiple attempts to get up there and cause some chaos, but unfortunately, it wasn't working out. I think maybe a potential solution would have been to simply pretty much force the point, because that inevitably is going to get people to have to drop down to commit elsewise, but we'll see what the situation is. In Control decides that we're going to be heading over to King's Row, and obviously we'll see what the ban is in turn. Honestly, I think there's a plethora of correct bans in this situation right here. I don't think there's a definitive one choice that is going to solve every issue, but there are some really good selections at hand.
Yeah, there's some really good ideas they could come out with here. Looks like they're going to be actually banning out the Venture. However, this is a good map pick for InControl, and really the only reason I say that is because this is the only map that they've actually won on this season. They've won one map. It was against Amplify in that first week, and it was on this one, on Kings Row. And, I mean, we went back, watched, you looked at the stats. It looks kind of weird, but they ended up winning it a very close first point hold for them. But going against now Nightmare Academy, especially if you bring in subs in this map, it looks like we're not going to be seeing any here. I thought Lucana actually did a really good job on the tank class map, didn't die. Putter also did not die at all. They were playing a very aggressive Tracer and never really got punished. I mean, that's one thing that you really cannot allow here, especially in Masters tier. As the season goes on, if you allow a Tracer just to be in your backline, taking those off angles, it's going to be a very bad time here. And InControl, they looked a lot better, like I said, than what I kind of watched in their game last week in that first map. They now need to continue the trend that we saw in those maps last week, where they got better throughout, but maybe pick up the pace a little bit here and win this map.
Yeah, and we'll see what the situation is to get things going. We're going to have, in this situation, we have a swap. We have Juven coming in for Mickman in the situation. Also, InControl going to be attacking first and foremost. We'll see what that normally is. Teams sometimes opt to defend first, but I've seen the trend of like the attack, defense. It just comes down to comfortability at the end of the day. But speaking of comfortability, not a whole lot changing in terms of this. Lucana is over on that Ramacha, which I think, for Kings Row, is all around a great selection.
Yeah, and right now, Key showing us D.Va here. I mean, again, when we went back and watched their last week or their last game against EU Takeover, Key really only played these brawl kind of style tanks, whether it be Malga, Zarya, or Ramatra. So showing us D.Va here is a little bit of a surprise, but I could see a swap here late. The double hit scan right now, Kaori, I only imagine for the sonar arrow and then probably a swap off to something else. However, I mean, we're not going to see the Zarya this map at all because that was the second ban. Key, though, going over to the Ramatra, where I think this was the best tank they looked against EU Takeover. And I like this. They normally did really well against it in their game against EU Takeover in the mirror.
100% did. We'll see how it starts, though. Obviously, InControl want to get up to a good of a start as humanly possible. Over on this Symmetra, it is going to be very hit or miss, but we'll see. Worked really well for gaining that tier, that level 3 beam. You can drain through almost any tank imaginable, even of a Ramatra. Everybody going to be able to TP through, go through the backside right there, but Putter gets their head taken off. Juven already off to a really good start here, first time in the match, as we'll see this rotation as they're going to drop down and Lucana is forced back away.
First up the series right there for Putter, and right now I like what we're seeing here from Lucana, just stalling on the point. They might have to give up a tick here for free because Kaori already up to that level 3 beam, so there's one tick here for InControl. This is what I said, they need to quicken that pace. They look better as the series went on their past ones, and right now they're looking a lot better. One lead Clover finding Putter out as well. Zero deaths to 2 already.
Yeah, it's a bit of a rough situation. Kaori to be able to finish out Lau as well. And eventually, this should result in this being done and dusted, and this is much better of a start here for InControl. They'll be able to take this first point in pretty decisive fashion. They take the long approach, but it works out brilliantly. And if they want to recap their
Yeah, and this is what we saw in our NA game on Wednesday. We saw a Symmetricom kind of find a lot of value on this map, especially when the other team was very aggressive. And right now, you're seeing Nightmare Academy maybe play a little bit over-aggressive, allowing Kaori's TP. So find a decent amount of value here. But right now, for Nightmare Academy, you have to be able to figure out how to play around it. Kaori got up to that level 3 beam very quickly. The right clicks were landing. The TPs really helped them out there. Now, though, you already see the TPs getting them out of dodge and fall back to the card here at Arches.
Yeah. Juven just going to get deleted on the spot here. Consider rush from both sides, so Lucana has to be a little bit careful here. Obviously, you don't want to have to invest anything more, but One Link Clover does have this beat drop ready. I imagine you really want to hold it for Lucana's Annihilation, which is now finally online. Could be viable. G gets pretty low, but TP is there to get everybody out.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if I like this here from InControl. I would have rather invested the beat and gone in there, but the overclock coming out here from Juven pretty early on. There's the Annihilation from Lucana, and it looks like One Link Clover is just going to hold on to the beat.
Yeah, I like it, but eventually does come out a little delayed, but I love to see it right here. Double Annihilation is potentially going to be available, but Putter is going to be taken out of that copy, separated from the rest of the squad. Going to try to hit up the backside right now, but thinks a little better of it, but Cameron able to get one of their own. Snow being taken down, Lucana likely to fall over, and now I am chasing the rest of these members right now, and Juven apparently decides they want to as well, gets rid of 3, and with that, second point feels all but secured.
Night and day difference here for InControl, and they are looking a lot better. And again, I think Kaori is just being a difference maker here so far on this Symmetra. This could be second point, basically cap for them. No reason for Nightmare Academy to really even go and try to contest. You have no ultimates. Neither does InControl. However, Consumer's coming up here for Cameron pretty fast. I would not be surprised, and honestly, I would expect them to use it the moment they get it. Knowing that there's really nothing ready on the other side, it could be something that gets you almost to the final checkpoint here.
We'll see if that actually ends up being the case, and hey, looks like 100% is. Everyone going to try to back out of there. Lucana, I mean, being given the 1-2 punch by all 5 members does get out alive. Unread, though, unfortunately, cannot say the exact same thing as even taking over the high ground, being able to force everybody back. He gets super low. He is kept up for the time being, though. Putter's head nearly getting taken off there. But I love the sense of aggression that is just vastly different from what we saw on that one.
And again, the TP, getting them up on that high ground made a big difference in that fight. And the Consumer Rush, like I said, this is probably where I would expect them to have been stopped. Loud going to use their own here to try to force them back, but the TP is going to be able to get them out dodge here for the most part.
Yeah, 100%. We see a separation as Juven going to try to slide out. Unfortunately, going to get beamed down by Putter. So now Reset is just going to have to be executed right here. Obviously, Key would love to gather more of that charge, but also needs to get out alive.
Kana now starting to take some space here, and this is what Nightmare Academy needs to do. They've kind of been getting rolled over throughout this entire map, not really dictating any tempo or buying themselves any space. They've kind of just been taking really what InControl has been giving them, which, I mean, InControl wants you to take some space on them. They want the Symmetric to be able to TP behind you and flip the map. That's all that they're looking for here. And you're going to have a couple big ultimates here for both sides. Overclock coming out here, though, from Snow.
Yeah, and everybody going to run for the hills. Unfortunately, Juven is a little separated from the rest of the squad. Is eventually going to be able to get out alive, and this is a really good reset coming through. You can have all 5 ultimates, but you still have to manage these all properly. And hey, you're going to see Juven go immediately into getting this one. Putter taken immediately out of that copy. No one can really immediately touch right now, be activated by 1 Leaf Clover. Unread doesn't quite have it online. Lucana going to try to go for it, but gets decked out of the Annihilation. Juven able to start finishing bodies off. It's already 1 for Juven. Helps get a second with a little help from Kaori. And this is coming down to 2.5 minutes and still plenty of ults.
3 members on the card right now for InControl. There's a good chance that they could potentially finish this map, but no, Unred's going to be able to speed them out. They have beat here, but now you're seeing the 2 ultimates here for InControl. Is there going to be a touch?
There is, but the problem is Lucana, because Unread decides to be very safe, which is the right call to be safe, that beat does not hit Lucana. So Lucana just gets beamed down with no chance of survival. So that is, I believe, about 2 minutes on the clock. 2:18 for InControl. It is a night and day difference compared to Ilios.
Yeah, Hunter.
Oh my God!
Stats right now.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
I think you're looking at the stats right now. Juven was the only member to die there for InControl that entire round. I mean, that just tells you how good of a round that was for them. Everything was working out for them. I mean, that support line was doing everything that they could to keep their team alive. Yeah, Juven died those 2 times, but still, Key, 8-0, Kaori, Juven, combined for 24-2 that round right there. I mean, if you can get that time after time again for your DPS line, you feel pretty confident that you're going to be able to win most rounds and most maps here. Right now, if you're Nightmare Academy, though, like the Ramatra mirror, I talked about it. Key was always able to come out on top of a lot of those cases in the last series against EU Takeover. Even though they ended up losing the map of Shambhala Monastery where that happened, they looked a lot more comfortable, and Kaori also played the sim there, and they did exactly what they did in this last round there, being able to flip the map. Yeah, they didn't technically flip the map in that last fight, but they did enough there to force Nightmare Academy to rotate back away from their own spawns and work to perfection there. No big swaps coming out for either side. 1 Leaf Clover, actually the biggest one, coming out here with the Wu Yang, and I like it. A little bit more poke damage and a decent amount more healing as well, I could see, but I mean, that Wu Yang is going to be an absolute target, if anyone, for the entirety of Nightmare Academy.
Yeah, 100% as double Ramatra, again activated. 1 Leaf Clover does have to be very careful over on Squeon. Does have a good amount of escapability, but they can be taken out very quickly. Do not be mistaken. mistaken. Everybody already getting rather low, gets a little bit of care as you see the separation. Terry, I think, needs to be the most careful. Doesn't have all the backup that they had previously during that attack. Also has to play more carefully because they're on the defense, as Lucana has to use Nemesis Form a little bit early to sustain, as for the time being, getting plenty of shots, but nobody getting that killing blow yet.
He now trying to rush that high ground as the majority of Nightmare Academy ran up there. The TP going to be able to get them up there. Now as Nightmare Academy draws towards point, you do see Key and Kaori just focused there on Lucana as they're both playing safe, kind of going back to what we saw on the first point of Helios.
Yep, lots of bodies burning, but Key is the first to go down. That is a brutal person to lose this early on. Even just getting blown up as well. Still alive, but unfortunately without that tank, I feel like, I'm not saying you have to go up on this one, honestly. I don't know if you have much more of an option to do so.
I mean, the TP's going to be able to get them back pretty quickly here, but one last stall coming in there from Cameron. Going to be able to get themselves out alive. He is back, but you already see the ultimates come in for Nightmare Academy, and
yeah, that is unfortunately going to be an ugly finish right there. Everybody whose name isn't One Leaf Clover getting the bad spawns. You're going to see a little bit of chase here from Putter. One Leaf Clover should probably get it alive as long as every single doesn't connect. And oh my god, this nope, gets out alive. But still, that does mean that the archway is pretty much taken for free.
Hello.
yeah, Arches is gone now. I mean, if you do see InControl come back out very quickly, there's only one person on the cart, so they could easily go back and hold an Arch if they want to fight here. I mean, only the Consuming Rush invested by Nightmare Academy, really good for them, especially since they now have almost every other ultimate and not that far away from their own annihilation. But you're looking over at InControl right now. They're going to have the same number of ultimates, and Key, someone get some healing for your tank. You need them in this engagement.
Oh, really badly, but he is literally in Albuquerque right now. He's trying to get out alive. Eventually, he's able to do so momentarily. Do you see a copy over onto Ramatra? He is eventually going to be given the title blast to live a little while longer. Double Ramatra out there is deadly, and Putter more than likely going to get this online. Right around the corner from it, and I was going to say they're likely going to get this online, but it's going to last all of 1 second before it eventually runs out. Lucana pops their own. Key has theirs online, though. Beacon to be activated. Key just needs to sit there, survive, try to get through all this incredible damage. Through the annihilation, the tier 3 Beam Bob able to take away and give some temporary relief.
Costly ult fight for both teams there, but if you're in control, you're perfectly fine with it. I mean, One Leaf Clover started it all off, making sure Keith stayed alive, and I think it was a big difference because they're using that title blast onto them. Now Snull's the only one with an ultimate ready to go here. Lao, though, not that far away from a Consuming Rush, so you could see Nightmare here potentially play this a little bit slow, allow Lao to build up to this Consuming Rush and then go in and probably use both ultimates there because there's really nothing on the other side that could stop him here. TP, though, set there for Key, so they have that escape tool.
100%. Key is, yeah, obviously in a very weird area. Eventually just have to get out of there. If that TP goes away, there's nothing you can do. But Key dies anyway, and now Snow is going to go with the investment. Wants to 100% solidify this fight. He's looking for bodies, finds Cameron looking for more, but everybody's already kind of run for the hills or has been taken out. But with this being the case, a retouch is more than likely.
But the TP being used there just to get Kaori away, I think that means that there's really not going to be a retouch here from InControl. However, another Title Blast online for them. Lao does have a Consuming Rush, but the Title Blast could at least give Key some time here just to go stall at the point, waiting for everyone else to get back. But that's your only ultimate here at the start of the engagement.
Yeah, Consuming Rush for Lao could be really deadly here, and it's used very early on as well. I like the aggression. You try to push in right now. One Leaf Clover is going to give that over to Key, who needs to be able to sustain a little while longer. Good momentary stun, but Lucana has all the heals in the world. That Kusene Rush still activated. Eventually, Copy going to come online once again for Putter, and Putter subsequently is taken directly out of it here. Key trying to sustain a little bit longer, gets to the message form once again. Kiori has that wall nice and ready to go, just waiting for the perfect time to activate it.
Cameron now has their own Consuming Rush here. The TP, maybe not one that you were hoping for there, but you're going to have to deal with it.
Yeah. Lucana so close to going down, and the fight ending, and that it will be. TP sent through, destroyed, does not matter though, as with Lucana down, that fight settles itself.
When Putter was trying to hide over there, able to escape with their life for the moment, but if they get caught out here, it's costly. Putter going to be able to glide away. Now though, I mean, those ultimates invested there by InControl, I think they're perfectly fine. I mean, you have an Annihilation not that far away from a Bob. You look at the other side, Annihilation beat. So Nightmare Academy, they do have some tools to play with here, and an early pick would really help them out here. But who's it going to be onto? I mean, One Leaf Clover maybe playing a little bit too far out of their own range here.
I think just a bit, all things considered. We'll see what the situation is, though. Juven gets rid of Putter earlier on. That's a rough one to have to do with that early, and now you go into the situation where you're trying to survive for as long as you can. Lucana is going to have Annihilation, but they need to be in the right situation to use it.
I mean, and Putter, they are so close to, I mean, everyone in Nightmare Academy is about to have their ultimates in this engagement. Losing Putter forces Nightmare Academy to do a soft reset here, gonna have to completely fall back, but still, you have the ult economy on your side. You cannot really allow, I think, Juven to build up to a Bob here, because that's just a great stall tool, and you would probably have to invest just an ult to make sure the Bob doesn't really find much, but Juven!
Again, finds another pick. Snow being taken out. It's having a rough one, and here's the, oh my god, B and Annihilation for the same tank. Harry, Juven deleted on the spot. Key, though, more than happy to try to keep things going, but, I mean, Lucana has already done too much here. And with a copy from Putter, this thing is all but settled in place. Key not able to find anything on their own. Annihilation activated from the side. Key is surviving here for an extremely long period of time, but this damage should eventually be too much here. As Cameron, the only person with it all anywhere close, is taken out. The overtime will come through, but it took everything they had, and even with that, they still have more ultimates that are online because of how long that fight went.
I was going to say, Kaori does have level 3 beam. If they could find one pick there onto someone like Lucana, you never know what might happen. But now it's up to Juven just to get out alive. Looks like they're going to be able to do that. The time bank, though, no matter what happens here, will be in favor of InControl. However, you look at the ultimates allow, another Katsuna Rush Snow still has that overclock. Just it wasn't able to use it, but Cameron, own Katsuna Rush, you have a photon barrier here. I think right now, if you're in control, you want this to drag this fight out a little bit long here, but in Nightmare Academy, they don't want to.
Well, they do not, and that fight's going to be done just that quickly. There is the double investment right there, which obviously feel how you want about it. It is going to stem the bleeding right now, and the way things are, finishing with time is pretty much impossible at this point.
I mean, if they win this fight here and get some momentum, Nightmare Academy could definitely still finish with time. And look at Putter here, going over to the Bastion. We see this a lot here, especially on this point. They want to try to really force Key into a spot where they have to pop that Nemesis form and just hold up the arms the entire time. You're coming up to some ultimates though here for Nightmare Academy. That beat though, what you really need here.
100% Putter, able to destroy that teleport. Lucana is down. Those everybody needs to get out of dodge here. They need to be able to set up a retouch right here, but there's not a super easy retouch for anybody, so they just need Lucana to help them move forward.
Bob ready here now for Juven. Key gonna have their own Annihilation. Lucana, because of that early death there, not gonna be able to have theirs, and immediately they throw out Bob. Who's gonna be the touch?
We have a one touch coming through from Lau, but that's gonna be it. Everybody's clearing house, and InControl has woken up here, tied up the series, and after that, they are looking fantastic.
They're looking great. Like I said, Key always looked a lot better in that Ramatra in that game against EU Takeover. Even that was a 0-3 sweep for EU Takeover, I thought Key was really impressive that last map. I mean, you heard me basically talking through it, and I just said, like, they just got beat on that map. It was very close, but there was some minor mistakes there. This was a much improved kind of map here for InControl, and now going up against Nightmare Rotation, it was something where they really came all together there. And you have to remember, there were 4 members of InControl that did not die in that first round. Well, no one can say they lived the entire map for InControl, but still a very much improved round there for InControl. Nightmare Academy, it was a struggle. I mean, you looked at Putter and Snow in that first map. They were incredible, finding so much value. Putter never died. Same thing with, I believe, Lucana. They never died either, map number 1. This map was a little bit of a challenge for them. It seemed like the Ramatra mirror really did affect a Nightmare Academy there to the point where just Key was able to stay alive. And again, I think a lot of it comes down to the Kaori on that Symmetra. Able to do so much there. They looked really good in that final map of their last series, but just wasn't able to put together a victory. Well, they put it together here now to make a series.
Yeah, that they exactly have, but we'll see what the response is. Freya has been banned out, but more importantly, honestly, Dorado has been picked, which I like because this is going to shut down a bit of that Ramatra style, I will say. It is still effective to a degree, obviously, especially with the way Dorado is now compared to back in the day. But it is going to make it a lot more difficult to pretty much do what you want to do in that situation, especially if you are going to be a situation where you're going to attempt to use the Symmetra more. It's going to be a little more awkward. Dorado is very much a dive-centric map, but we'll see what that will lead to right now. For the time being, we'll see if anybody makes swaps. Juven, for the time, is still in dirt. still on the bench as well. I don't imagine after that anything's going to change. As a matter of fact, it will not.
Anaban gonna be the second hero going into Dorado. Arlanta still has not come in here for Nightmare Academy either, but at the same time, it looks like Mickman could also be staying on the bench here for this one. But I think Juven came in, had an excellent round right there. Mickman had a good round map 1, but I feel like InControl is trying to really find their tempo, find how they need to really play map 1, and Nightmare Academy really took advantage of that. Nightmare Academy, though, they lost basically everything there. Going to the Ramatra mirror did not work out for them. Now you're going back over to a dive map, which is what we basically saw the entirety of map 1, and you're hoping to get that same kind of play back here. D.Va definitely back on the table. Winston, though, available as well.
Yeah, very much so. So yes, Cameron will get in here pretty soon to get things going, but I imagine we will get back to a little more of that Winston gameplay. It'll be curious to see what the adjustment is from InControl, who, now that they got into that linear style where they were able to make the Symmetra work, it worked out beautifully for them. But this is not a map that, again, favors that situation. I think Carry, as someone also who's kind of been slowly finding their comfortability throughout the series as well, was a bit rough to get things going, but I think was a lot more consistent throughout that King's Road. Everybody, obviously, was a little more consistent, but we'll see if that consistency can stay where it's at as we get ready to head into Dorado, where for the time being, Nightmare Academy will be attacking first.
Yeah, and I mean, again, this kind of comes down to InControl getting to pick what side they want to do first here, and they want to do defense play, which, hey, I always feel like that's the right way to go because it lets you know on your attacking round or second round what you have to do or what you have to match. And I think this is a good, smart, sound play here for them. But coming out the gate, D.Va showing up here for Key. Remember, D.Va was banned out map 1, so we were not going to be able to see it there. But Lucana coming back out on the Winston, where, again, they played a map 1, looked really, really good on it. KOR, though, sticking with the sim. I don't hate it. I really don't. Especially even though a lot of people will say that Winston is a little bit of a counter because they get rid of the turrets. Well, they only get rid of the turrets. Bubble could just be used to really build up that sim beam, and we have seen it in the past, whether it be this series or whether it be OWCS. Level 3 sim beam is something you do not want to be standing in front of.
God, no. The worst thing you could be standing in front of, but we'll see what ends up happening as we're getting things going, and for the time being, Carry is still on the Symmetra. This is going to end in one of two ways, and we'll see very quickly which it's going to be here. I like Putter going over to the Tracer of the situation, Lucana back on that Winston. I think worked out very well for them back on Elios.
Yeah, and right now, I like that Key is playing this position right here, stalling out Cart for a little bit. Putter needs to be able to kind of drag them away, focus on the backline here a little bit, but you have essentially the sim to be able to get them out of dodge, and huge Suzu right there to keep Key alive. You do not want to lose this mech early on, or else, I mean, it might just be this first point going over to Nightmare Academy in a round where they need to have something go their way fast.
Yeah, Key is going to need constant care in this situation, which obviously isn't an easy thing to have to manage here, but Harry drops down as well. If they play this close area right here, this could work out beautifully, but it's going to be really tough to because there's still a lot of poke damage that can come through from Snow, from Putter, Lau as well. I mean, everyone, aside from Enrique, can really get in some of that big range damage, but either way, Putter hanging in that backline right there, bubble thrown in, Carry in a bit of a rough situation, but he is the one who is constantly just sitting low on health, and I think this time, with the TP there, gets out alive again.
Yeah, right now you're really looking at Cameron here to essentially be the healer for Key. One Clover can do a lot as well, but Cameron's gonna be your main source of healing. You're already so close to a Consumer Rush and a beat right now. Snow, though, about to have Bob. This could be a very explosive fight here any moment.
100%. Cameron has Consumer Rush around the corner. Lau not too far behind. I think Cameron's gonna pop this thing pretty quickly once the re-engagement comes through. But it's going to be both coming through. But it really is that Bob that's going to be so effective right here. But instead, that is put in a very awkward position. Cameron gets no value out of it. And that is going to be just... Juven gets one on the way out. Perry is keeping things going. But I think that's just a bit of a misplay right there, as first point will get capped here by Academy.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Fox ran in front of a car. So the Kitsune Rush only went about 2 feet.
Yes.
A misplay there by InControl, but still a lot of map to go, and you did at least get Bob out from your side and Bob out from the other side, and I mean, really nothing else was used on the other side. KOR, I think, just got the Photon Barrier, so it wasn't really even an option that fight. I think Bob was the biggest thing you really wanted to get out there. Now, though, Putter, this Pulse Bomb ready to go, and you find it onto someone, especially how close InControl's playing. It could be huge. Nice boop, though.
Yeah, 100%. That beam is big right now. Lucana close to going down, and here's that big investment off the wall headed in. And everybody gonna get out of there. Rally is invested, and Key doesn't get hit with the beat, so Zed has to bomb. Is very unlikely to survive this situation. Is gonna remech, doesn't get rid of anybody. Survives, hit with Pulse Bomb. Key is going through the motions today, but importantly, is still alive.
And hey, costly fight for both teams right there. However, if you're Nightmare Academy, you did a really good job just holding on to some key ultimates right there. You still have your Kitsune Rush, and Lucana has the get out of jail free card there with the Primal Rage. Juven, the only one that has something ready here for InControl. And again, we saw Juven take over some fights last map. They need to be able to do that again here, because when this TPS line is really clicking or firing on all cylinders for InControl, he's able to play a little bit more freely for right now. Again, Cameron just needs to be pumping them with all the heals in the world. It's Cameron not that far away from yet another Kitsune Rush. Yeah, kind of moved off that high ground. It's trying to find the correct engagement. It's just going to keep spamming up there until it comes to fruition. Kitsune Rush will be thrown on the top again, and again, it doesn't end up dropping, so it doesn't find inherently all that much value. Gary is obliterated on the spot there, forced into the corner. Key gonna get knocked out of mech too. I think this just settles second point right here and now. This is, again, a really good start here as Snow gonna get a nice finish. That's gonna be like 4:15 in the time bank. That is a lot of time for Dorado. A lot of time, and I think the biggest mistake that we saw there from that Kitsune Rush from InControl was the fact that Kaori was the first one to go down to the low ground. They were essentially frontlining on the sim, which, hey, you can do, but you really want level 3 beam before that. And Lucana, I think that was the perfect use of that Primal Rage there. Bob, though, already out here, and everyone from InControl has to scatter.
100% has to stay alive. Juven hoping to find a little something, but that card is still moving forward this entire time. Juven gets a collect, though. Gets rid of 2 in 1 shot. Cleanup coming through. Lucana unlikely to get out alive. And now you're just hoping for a great finish here over onto Putter, who's going to try to get out alive. He's going to be stopped. And listen, InControl don't want to be locked in the room with that.
I think right now you already see Snow make the swap over here to the Sode. I think it's a little bit better here for Nightmare Academy. I could also potentially see Lucana get off the Winston here. Maybe go over to a Diva of their own, maybe even something a little bit more brawly. But you look at InControl, they finally rotate now into a good ulti. They have Beat, they have Photon, they have Bomb. So they have some utility here, but they have to be smart with it. Not invest all 3 into one fight like we've seen them do already one time this match.
Yeah, and Lucana is going to be brave. Dive directly in there, needs to, but it's just getting drained away. Ends up running for the hill, stays alive momentarily, but Wall does get expended during that fight. Carry takes care of Snow, be activated to go on the aggression right here. And it's working out momentarily, but still nobody's gone down. Unread eventually does, but Carry in the process taken out as, again, just another reset.
Just another reset. I mean, 2 ultimates invested there by InControl. You have 2 more now. Bomb still being the biggest one, but you look at the other side. Nightmare Academy, Kitsune Rush, Pulse Bomb, not that far away from Primal Rage. So this could be a huge fight here for Nightmare Academy as they could really, up the tempo here, play in your face. And now you look at Snow off the Soj, over to the Symmetra instead. They want to try to trick InControl here, much like they have, but Lucana dies first.
But you can't have that. This fight's going to fall apart. Putter does still have that Pulse Bomb, but obviously has to hold on to it now as turret's destroyed. Snow, he's going to try the Sim experiment. I don't hate it, but I don't know if it's going to stick.
Putter adding to the lead here a little bit. They've been doing that little by little every fight. Cameron going to be able to find the final pick there. Snow looks like the Symmetra experiment was just that, an experiment for 1 try. Our 2 ultimates ready here now for Nightmare Academy, but I mean, these couple fights have been really good for InControl as well. He's still holding on to the bomb, which again, gonna be used as a remake tool, and Juven gonna be able to have a overclock here. You see the clock here, 100 seconds left to go as Putter back on the card.
Yeah, the part is being pressured. They eventually will find out. Putter not gonna anything with the Pulse Bomb, unfortunately. Juven is in a rough situation, has to run for the hills. Eventually he's gonna be taken down. In the nick of time right there, Putter able to be taken care of, but the damage I think has already been done. I think I mean, eventually he's gonna have to just jump on this point and try to stall for as long as humanly possible. Using the bomb, just needs to try to get back in. Mech, unfortunately, doesn't happen. Lao goes down though, but TP is there. Still, Juven needs to find somebody, gets rid of another. Juven is being given heals. Eventually, everybody back into the fight, and those shots from Juven help clutch up here as Kaori and squad take back over.
So I was hoping that everyone there from InControl is going to run after Putter, but nope, they stay sound, they stay home. Juvenile going over to Casti instead. I like this swap here very late in the map. Close fight, you're going to be playing a little bit more close quarters, and you just use overclock. as well. No ultimates here, though, for InControl going into this engagement. Unread should be able to build up to that rally unless they are the first ones taken out here by InControl. Putter, though, they've been doing a really good job at least drawing attention away. They're trying to do that here now to allow their team to get in and find that valuable space.
100% trying to right now dive quickly from Lucana. Wants to be able to take over that high ground. A little bit of a rough scenario to be able to do so. Is just going to keep getting moved off the high ground by one like Clover, who, by the way, is going to have a beat for this fight. And important that there is double Spur ultimates going to be ready for this final engagement, especially when Snow needs this pop-off moment right here and now. Touch is going to come through right now as we're seeing on the high ground right now. Juven has been taken out. It's massive. Consider Rush activated, thrown in. They need to try to find somebody right here. Now, Lucana is the perfect target right here, but it's down to Snow to be the clutch factor that this Nightmare Academy squad desperately needs. Carry eventually going to be finished off. Key trying to hang along as possible, but Pulse Bomb eventually going to help get rid of one leaf Clover. Lucana's coming back over on the ball, but who knows if it'll be necessary. Key is just trying to stay on there as long as it be possible, but eventually, Dex, I think the deed will be done.
I mean, Kaori gets out there, but how much can one Venture do on their own? Well, the easy answer is not enough. However, if you're InControl, you did stop them from capping in with time on the board. You did force them to cap in overtime, but you would really love to have been able to stop them there. You had the tools, but I just think the ultimates there for Nightmare Academy were a little bit too much there at the end. And getting into this third point, I mean, InControl looked a lot better than their first 2-point play. I think the D.Va really started to work out a little bit better because it was a more confined space, allowing those light cannon shotguns to really find a little bit more value on them. And also, you saw Juven, you saw Kaori start to find value on their 2 picks. Juven had found value throughout the entire round, but the sim, we kind of mentioned it, a little bit difficult to get going here up until you get inside the facility. That's when sim really finds a lot of value. You saw it there from Kaori, but Nightmare Academy, really good round from them. Snow kind of playing, you know, musical heroes there at the end, but ended up sticking with the Sode, working out for them. Putter, like I mentioned, they were doing a really good job on that Tracer, just being able to at least pull InControl back away from their aggressive kind of positioning they were playing. They're trying to play very up close and in their face. Just Putter being able to go get on that cart, forced InControl to give up that space for free, allowing Nightmare to kind of play through it.
Yeah, 100%. You see Carey still temptably giving this Symmetra right now. We see Key momentarily on the Malco. We did see that from them in their match against EU Takeover over on New Junk City. Unlikely to see it here, of course, but I think with some TP shenanigans, you never know at the end of the day. It's just the Symmetra style. But at the end of the day, Carey going to stick on this character. Gonna see what they do with it.
Yeah, I was going to say, if we did see that Malco come back out, to put it easy, it left a lot to be desired against their match against EU Takeover, but that was also on New Junk City. I think the D.Va, especially with the Symmetra on the attacking side, is going to be a little bit better for these first 2 points. Third point might struggle a little bit, but again, you're inside. Symmetra finds a decent amount of value there, but the TP strategy, I like it taking the elevator here, but right now, Kier cannot be the one frontlining.
No, obviously not. As you see the separation, trying to get to the back line, as everybody just abandoned ship on the high ground. I love it, but it's also going to create a situation where that part should be able to start moving forward without too much issue. But you see them going to try to pretty much immediately take it back. He can't stay up there. One Clover, though, didn't quite get the memo. As you see the investment right here, Juven just going to try to stay alive as they just got to take a quick reset.
Ooh, you're going to lose Cameron here as well. The TP going to be able to get everyone out. So here's your reset now for InControl. Do we see any more swaps come out from them? Does Key make a change? Doesn't look like they are. You have Juven just sitting out there. Cameron not going to make a change. Still very early on in this round, but that time bank slowly going to start becoming your enemy right now. If you're InControl, you need to be able, if you're going to be using the Symmetra TP style, to be able to TP onto someone and make sure they're dead, essentially within a second.
100%. We'll see, though. We're only a minute and a half in. Still a lot of progress to be made. But for the time being, Putter able to create a lot of pressure. It's rough for Key to get in there and really do anything by themselves. And with the way this comp works, that's how it's going to happen in a lot of these fights. You're not going to have everybody there together if the TP gets interrupted in even the slightest right there. And when the Clover goes down, Henri gets away with murder, stays alive. This card does get some more progression, but in this situation, I can't imagine it gets any further than this. As Putter low momentarily. Considering Rush thrown in by Cameron, this is a potential big investment here. Juven, rough scenario, eventually going to be taken out. D-Mac is there, and it's going to get them through the choke, but that is the extent of it.
I mean, InControl got exactly what they were looking for there. They were looking for the map flip, and they got it. However, one Leaf Clover dying really kind of put a big asterisk on how much they were going to be able to get there. However, Kitsune Rush is gone now for both sides. You're going to have Beat ready here for InControl here in a moment. He should have Bomb, but you look at the other side here. You still have Primal Rage, Pulse Bomb, Rally. They're overclock not that far away, and the Pulse Bomb, Suzu does not come out on time. Cavern taken out.
Yeah, and as much as Carry's going to knock a ton of damage over on Lucana, I mean, you're basically just going to get the Primal Rage out here. Jubin does get rid of Putter, though. Beat is invested. So, again, another fight. They're going to try to go all out in right here. Boop to be able to get unread away momentarily. Try to stem a little bit of the bleeding. Carry basically gets thrown into the fire, and the Flames Bomb is dropped in. Ends up with Cameron getting 3, by the way. Okay, Cameron, we see you. Point is going to be captured momentarily. Putter with just a little bit more stall, but Cameron gets the 4th of the fight as they will take first point.
What's up?
Whether by melee or whether by kunai, Cameron able to help out their team so much there. And honestly, without Cameron really getting those 4 kills right there, I don't think InControl gets that point cap. I think you're able to see him come back in, or Nightmare Academy come back in, be able to clean them up there. Now though, you look at it here, dueling overclocks coming out from both sides. Cameron will have a good Kitsune Rush here pretty early on, so this could be something where they're really waiting for Cameron to build up to that, so that could be their go sign. But Jubin might just force it here a little bit early, and they might have to.
Honestly, might have to. We'll see, though. It's just the overclocks for now. Cameron being ahead is obviously very convenient, but also they're not in any rush to be up on that high ground. Putter gets hit with full charge, but no head connection, so won't be taken care of right here. Snow, though, has been a clutch factor for the squad a couple of times so far. We'll see if that is going to be the case. Once again, your fight underway, as all you're doing right now is seeing Lucana occasionally drop down and try to stop progression.
And they're doing a good job of it, and you can kind of see that Kaori is setting up the turrets down there, so if they get them just loading up the turrets, might be able to clean them up. But again, this is a moment right here where Nightmare Academy is okay giving up this space because they're waiting for a better fight scenario, and they think it's now.
Yeah, TP goes through. Everybody gets through that TP. As everybody, it just rotates to the back line. As simple as that. Now the map has essentially flipped on itself. Everybody's in a really weird position as Juva's going to be the one to go in here with that overclock, putting a rough situation on the line for Lucana. Nice shot there onto Snow. Doesn't find a finish, though. Needs to try to find one right now as this car is making a ton of progression, but here Snow goes. Veggie trying to fight back. Needs to try to find a target here early on. Cameron is the first to go down. Kitsune Rush does end up coming out, but with the teammate coming through right now, I can't imagine you want to invest here, but Gray says, no. This is winnable, and Dex apparently it might be.
The level 3 Simbeam's gonna be able to carry them throughout this fight, and Juve in this DPS line again, they've been stepping up in spades these last 2 maps. And now, InControl, I mean, they looked kind of lost on that first point. Flipping the map has been such a big difference maker here for them. In Nightmare Academy, they've been able to slowly figure it out, but right there, I think once they got rid of Key, they thought that fight was over, but InControl, the investment really kept them alive in that one there. The Photon Barrier, I think, did exactly what it wanted to do here. 2.5 minutes so to complete this map. They completed with time. It really does help them out here.
Oh, it helps them out incredibly so. Key, though, again, gonna get knocked out of the neck. No surviving this time, though. Gonna be taken out. That cart, it has made a pretty fair amount of progress, though, by the way. So I don't hate it, all things considered. But you're going to see Lisa come through, and a lot of ultimates. Key makes this up to the Ramontress.
I mean, this is the same kind of spot where we saw Nightmare Academy get held by InControl, and the Ramatra was a big difference maker for them being able to get through, but also at the same time you had Putter being able to kind of steal the cart away, pull all the attention away as well. Rally coming out early. Nightmare, they want to play aggressively here.
Yeah, I don't blame them in the absolute slightest, and it's going to make everyone just get out. InControl doesn't want to have to deal with that. They want to stay alive. Go back in, but still, the ult disparity is worth doubting because it is still very heavily swayed against the InControl's favor.
People coming out there from Putter already has their own Kitsune Rush. This could allow Nightmare Academy here to play very aggressively. Finding Key is huge. Jubin, though, again, Jubin always finds their one, it seems, in these fights where InControl just trying to back out here. However, again, one ultimate invested in that fight, and you win it for Nightmare Academy. Perfect scenario. Jubin, though, has overclock. Cameron will have Kitsune Rush, so Ultimate Economy starting to even out here a little bit. Snow, though, not far away from their own overclock, as the overclock out here from Jubin.
Yeah, but Lucana doesn't get the Primal Rage out in time, by the way. I don't know whether or not it would have actually been popped, but unread helps get rid of another, allows in a really rough situation in the backline right now. isn't likely to get hunted down. Should find a TP just in time. Cleanse comes alive. Lau is hanging around. Is trying to go for the 1v1. Ends up getting away with it, and TP's out.
I think right now, if you're in control, yeah, you're just getting out. One leaf clover is very important to this composition with speed, and you're going to be able to get out. But Nightmare Academy, they really did maybe put a little bit of a scare on you. However, 3 ult is ready now here for Nightmare Academy. Only 1 at the start here for InControl. That Consumer Rush is going to have to do wonders here for them here, as this is final fight for both these teams and potentially for the map.
100%. It'll all come down to this. Consumer Rush is active for Cameron. They're going to keep me directly to the point, though, cause everybody in a weird situation, but there's so much available, and there's so much available momentarily for InControl. One leaf clover needs to stay alive, though. It's about to have this beat ready. It's going to be activated. Touch is online over time activated. You already see the assassination come through over onto Putter, who is going to come back very quickly right here, but it's everything being invested. Key, though, is going to have Annihilation on momentarily. It could be game-changing, but bodies are struggling to get on to this payload. Kero take care of, but unfortunately, Lucana cannot get back, so it's overtime minute for both sides here, as both teams, I mean, both struggling during that third point. Let's be entirely fair, but both having a really good second point.
Second point was the best for both teams. However, the difference maker on the first point was the fact that Nightmare was able to kind of get through it pretty easily on both on offense and defense. They held InControl a lot longer than InControl held them. So with InControl attacking here first, I mean, it kind of does. Actually, my bad. Nightmare Academy is actually attacking here first. InControl, though, what do you do? Do you stick with the Diva? Do you go over to the Ramatra? I almost say you go with the Ramatra, especially since you don't really want to give up that much space. I like what Key's doing here. Going with the Ramatra. No differences here from Nightmare Academy. Snow kind of deciding what they want to do. But again, overtime, you have the time here to really pick a lot of heroes, get your perks in. So we're seeing that right now. Okay, Lau.
Yeah.
But for the side of InControl, I mean, this is what you're going to be seeing from them. I think, honestly, if you're Nightmare Academy, if you want one target to go after, you go after Kaori. Yeah. I think that's who you really have to kind of focus in on here. If you let Kaori live, you're only giving InControl that the TPs to be able to play around the entire map. And we saw the most success that InControl had on both sides was when they were able to flip the map and give themselves such a huge advantage.
Yeah, 100%. We'll see what the situation is. Only a minute on the clock for both sides. Only Clover nearly getting assassinated right out the gate, by the way. As Echo on display here on Dorado. It's a rough situation as they get annihilated. Cameron again popping off for their squad. As Key is just going to be a linchpin to constantly hold this down. So essentially, they have to eventually try to ignore the Sumatra and go for this high ground.
And again, you have Lucana there, you have Putter, you have Snow, you have opportunities to get up onto that high ground. Lau as well can TP up there. There's the dive from Lucana, and Lau immediately up there with them.
Yeah, 100%. Key is just going to keep hanging on, and Key has no reason to move. Key can't do anything about the situation anyway. They're just going to keep helping hold down that car, make a desperate situation. Jubin, though, getting extremely low. Key going to be collapsed in on. TP, though, could not have been timed better as they're able to stall that out. So now they can play this choke with a Ram and a Symmetra. That could be very deadly.
And because there's really been no engagement, no ultimates are ready, it's going to be pretty dry here. I mean, Cameron could build up to a Consumer Rush, which would be a difference maker here, but they need to get up to it fast.
Yeah, Snow super low right here. The closest one right now is Cameron at 70%, but Lau not too far behind. I mean, to be fair, you can just try to simply win the war of attrition on this choke right now if you're keying the rest of the InControl squad, but you do have to eventually head this Consumer Rush online first. The moment I think Cameron has it, I think there's going to be an immediate investment here to try to force everybody away. But he's getting pelted with every bit of damage in the universe, and there it is, the investment. Unread, though, hits Jubin somehow. The investment comes through. Everyone in a weird position. Putter has gotten rid of two, eventually taken down, but it looks like the time has already gone through. Beats the investment here, beat investment to try to. It's a 2v1 situation. Unfortunately, it's both of the supports, so One Leaf Clover isn't going to be able to do it.
They were so desperate trying to get that beat out in time to keep Key alive. If Key gets that beat, I think the round is over. Now it's going to rotate into Nightmare Academy's position here. You're going to have Beat, you're going to have Bob, you're going to have Duplicate. Lucana should be able to build up to their own Primal Rage here. Key, though, this Annihilation is going to have to be huge.
Yeah, and it's going to be the copy going through. Bob being thrown directly over onto the point. It's going to be able to stop the bleeding momentarily. This overtime keeps going, so close to going away. Wall comes up online as well. Kaori desperately wants this to end right here, and now Lucana's death should be able to solidify it. So low, doesn't get the Primal Rage in time. It's not worst case scenario, but InControl will hold on.
Again, just InControl. I mean, I gotta give them credit. I thought the beat being invested there, again, like we said, it was really try to keep Key alive, because if they keep Key alive, that round probably is over at the bridge. But the photon barriers from Kaori have been vital this entire map. And we questioned maybe the sim coming into this map, saying how long were they really going to stick with it? Well, sticking with it has been the right thing to do. The sims has been hugely important for this InControl squad. They got the photon barrier there. It allowed really Key to keep that annihilation going while really not having to deal with any damage. That's a big thing there for that kind of composition. Now, coming onto the defensive side here, no big swaps here from, again, Nightmare Academy. They're kind of set in stone with this playstyle here. Hey, it works out. You see Putter going through some picks here right now, getting those perks. On the other side, though, look at InControl. They're pretty confident with what they're running here, and I don't blame them. One good TP onto the backline, if you can find one pick early on, it buys you so much space, because Nightmare, I don't think, is going to try to invest into a fight if they lose someone, say, like Lau or like Snow pretty early on.
Yeah, 100%. But of course, that cart does have to get rolling, because you don't have to be perfect, but at the very least, you can afford this very first fight. We'll see what the situation is as TP more than available, but it has to be in the right location. Remember, Unread does have that boop. Stoll can boop people around as well. And for the time being, it's just going to be used to kind of force Lucana into a really awkward situation with multiple angles being taken on them.
Yeah, I actually like the TV placement right there, because now once KR gets another one here, they can get up onto the high ground where Unread and Snow are. So it could be great for them to dive onto that back line here. TP, though, just be used to just fall right back to behind Key, essentially. Give them maybe a get-out-of-jail situation here if Lucana decides to invest on or jump onto them.
Yeah, he is getting, I mean, hit pretty hard here. It's going to be able to stabilize. And now they want to force it a situation where you can go on this car, but TP is going to be taken to the underground. It's going to force a situation where you can't really go in there and invest super hard. But Willy Clover, I mean, literally runs in. There's literally just, he hits the accelerator, doesn't end up being taken out. As we get this fight going, it's a 4v5. Everyone running back the other direction. Wait, they're pushing the thing. Someone's got to touch this point, by the way. It's 2, it's 1. They're barely there in time. I don't know what was going on. Their Kido is barely going to be able to live just in time right here. They're going to take over it InControl. They are firmly so. They take this back. I don't know where Academy was going to.
Again, throughout this entire map we talked about here, InControl really found a lot of success when they're able to flip the map. They flipped the map there. If you're Nightmare Academy, that's the one thing you really could not allow them to do. You had to play on the other side of the choke, but them chasing was the biggest thing there. InControl able to get through that choke. TP, yeah, you lost One Leaf Clover early on, and remember, we saw that same situation happen the first time InControl was attacking. You lost One Leaf Clover, but you were able to flip the map. However, Nightmare Academy won that fight. This time around, you lose One Leaf Clover, you flip the map. They were a little too patient, I think. That's the big difference there for Nightmare Academy. They had their opportunity to go fast, and you really should have taken it. Without that Lucio there was only so much that InControl could have done. And you saw there, the biggest difference was when Lucana made that dive, by the time they hit the ground and got that bubble out, they were quarter health. Like, that DPS line did work there. Juven, an incredible round from them there. I'm trying to pull up stats right now just to see how much damage they did.
Oh, they were insane.
Because it was all over the place here. And we know what our fourth map is. It's going to be Runasapi. And Nightmare Academy banning out the sim here. I think this is the right thing to do. Yeah, a lot of teams would say, let's hold it for a fifth map. You want to get to that fifth map. And right now, InControl's found the most value by playing the Symmetra. Juven got 16,000 damage. Kaori, almost 20.
It's been an insane...
Snow had 21,000 damage.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think there was anybody who wasn't a support that didn't have anything less than like 14,000. It was absolute insanity throughout that entire exchange. Honestly, that is a really good round for both teams, but InControl, I mean, they pull off the expert move at the very end. Because remember, they lose One Leaf Clover like immediately during that engagement. They int in, they get taken care of, and you would think that they'd be the beginning of the end, but no, they TP out, and they chase somebody away. I don't know who in particular it was, but that chase, I think, is probably, I mean, map losing, honestly.
I mean, again, it's one slight mistake there from Nightmare Academy that becomes their downfall, and you see that a lot in these series, especially one that's been as close as this. And Hunter, we came into this one talking about InControl. They went up against EU Takeover and Amplify. Those are two teams that we expect to be in the top half of, I think, the standings as the season goes on. And again, they were able to take a map off Amplify. They, in my opinion, probably should have been able to take a map off EU Takeover, but EU Takeover just was able to pull out all the stops to make sure that didn't happen. Nightmare Rotation, though, ever since that first map where it was primarily played with dive, no Symmetra from InControl, it hasn't looked the same here. They need to figure something out here going into this map. Yeah, I think they made the right ban with the Symmetra, but I think InControl now here has a really good opportunity to ban out something that Nightmare Rotation's been playing. I mean, they've been playing a decent amount of Brig here. I don't remember if we have seen a Brig ban at the moment. Okay, we have.
Yeah.
But I think InControl, they have a good spot here to just get rid of something that you think Nightmare Rotation might find a decent amount of value on here. Even if it's something like the Soj, even though Juven's been really popping off on it, you always feel like your hit scan's going to be able to one-up the other team's hit scan no matter what hero they're playing.
I mean, you could also go after, I don't remember what's in ban, but the Tracer. Because Putter has been really consistent thus far on it, but it's going to be the Juno. Which seems like a situation where they feel like maybe there's not anything that they feel like they can reasonably ban that's going to put them in a good, in a better situation. Because the way my philosophy works on this is if they do end up losing this map right here, they're going to know pretty precisely what it is that beats them. They have complete ban freedom, and they'll have complete map freedom as well. So I don't mind this. Plus, Juno works really well with the Ramatra. It's a really good substitute for something like a Kiriko as well. That, I mean, that the Orbital Ray, it is so tough to do anything into that.
Well, honestly, I mean, I think this was a really smart mode pick here for Nightmare Academy. I mean, you have to remember, Hunter, the one map type that we thought InControl looked awful on against EU Takeover was Flashpoint. Flashpoint's the only remaining map mode after this map here, if it does go 5. So Nightmare Academy, whether or not they did their scouting on this team, watch back their last game against EU Takeover, might be a strategic pick here for them, leaving Flashpoint there, because it seemed like when InControl has to make kind of quick, has to be really quick on their feet with just changing compositions, they might struggle with that a little bit. But again, we saw the Malga from InControl on New Junk City against EU Takeover, and it really didn't impress us at all. I think, though, InControl, this is the series they were really looking for here. They built up that momentum. They finally looked like they've been able to stabilize a little bit here throughout their first 2 series. They weren't able to do that. They look good here. Nightmare Academy, this is now a map that becomes very important for you, because we came into this series talking about, well, what does this Nightmare Academy team look like? Really, we haven't seen them play at all. A lot of new faces on this team. And I mean, so far, there's been a lot of good, some mistakes, some bad here, but you expect that from your first game. When we talked about it, was the rust going to be there for this Nightmare Academy team? Because again, we saw it already in the NA region, where I forget who we were casting. It was up against, we were casting them against Amplify, where they came out and looked really good. It was Kintsugi. We were questioning whether or not that team was going to be able to really come in and play, because they were going against, oh my bad, Extinction in that series, and they looked great. Now Nightmare Academy, coming into what could be our final map of the night, has to put it all together here. Again, no subs for either team. Mickman going to stay on the bench. Arlanto, Dirt going to be staying on the bench here. I think these have been the 2 best lineups for these teams as well throughout the entire series, so I don't see any reason to make any swaps here.
Nope, no reason whatsoever in the situation, but we'll see what the adjustment is. I think Ramatra is really on the board here. Potentially for both sides. We'll see momentarily if that's going to be the case. Yeah, it 100% is. I imagine the honesty that we see over on the side of Academy is a lot better, but as Cameron over on the Kiriko once again, Carry, though, has been like the one wild card, and with that Symmetra gone, Venture is a decent option. It was very hit or miss earlier on here, but I think without that Symmetra, we'll see how quickly they can readjust.
Yeah, and you have to remember, we talked about this when we saw it back on King's Row, that Key was always able to kind of win out Ramatra mirrors against EU Takeover. Even though they ended up losing the map against EU Takeover, you go back to King's Row, Key looked a lot better on the Ramatra, but a lot of it did come down to that Symmetra play that we saw. Pause coming in here. Trying to figure out who made it, because
Oh, that's crazy.
our guy might. Oh my goodness.
That's crazy.
So this is an InControl timeout here. I don't know who they're talking about. Their guy. I'm probably assuming Key.
It sounded
like what?
I need that.
Just pull the monitor. This would be
That's
very
crazy.
okay. So it looks like it was Cameron.
Yeah.
So very unfortunate if this actually does come back to hurt them. We saw it a little bit earlier tonight in South America, where the team that ended up losing had one good round going, had their tank disconnect. Howard, I was in the middle of a fight, and this is at the start of a match before really anyone has even seen the other team. But I think Key and Lucana is going to be a very important matchup here. However, no Symmetra right now for Key on the side of InControl. It's going to be a little bit of a difference here for them now. They're not going to be able to TP around. They're not going to be able to have their supports, their DPS line TP around as well. Juven, though, has been the standout to me this entire series on this, so they're able to find a lot early on.
Yeah, excited to see them come in to the second map. Glenn's going to be gone in here, and rough scenario is everybody will get out alive momentarily. Key needs a little bit of care here. Remember, they are clearly less afraid to walk directly up to Key, knowing the situation at hand. Lucana gets rid of Kaori, who's in a rough situation. Lucana gets a little bit low, but should have all the heals in the world. But by the way this fight's going down, Putter has taken away this spot the entire time. They're already at 20 meters, and everybody else from InControl got to run for the hills. Putter down though.
Putter went. Yeah, they're eventually going to get taken out there by Juven, but we saw this a lot from them last map. They were always just trying to take the car away, buy their team some space. InControl didn't follow it this time, didn't bite it, so just gives Nightmare Academy a lot of space here, essentially for free. Hunter, we're barely a minute over or gone in this map, and look how close they are to these forward spawns already.
Yeah, but I like the aggression into Lucana right there. Gets booped in, super close to going down. Is getting everything thrown into them. Still somehow hanging in there around that corner. Gonna lose out on that form. Doesn't even have a shield. Is it such a rough situation, but is still alive. And cooldowns around the corner. You're going to have double Consenting Rush. Snow is going to have the overclock as well, but eventually it's taken care of by Kaori, who managed to save this fight for the squad here. Unread deleted. Kaori apparently doesn't need to be on Symmetra to get that value. Is taken care of in time, but I think the damage has likely already been done here, but Lucana is kept alive. Ooh.
You lose one Leaf Clover, though, who did have beat, so you're really not going to be able to do much here. That beat was going to probably be invested just to keep Key alive, to allow them to play as aggressively as they really want here. Now you're just going to have to back out. Juven going to be taken out here by Putter, most likely. Yep, there it is, and if the rest of InControl is just going to have to back up here. However, is this going to be forward spawns? I think it is. I don't really think InControl can just afford to throw bodies at this point. Yeah, one Leaf Clover is back, but actually they went back to Taxi Juven.
They did. They're going to send everybody in right here. Forward spawns just a second away from being taken, and that they will keep down. Everyone has to regroup. And Carry not doing a bad job by any means, but it's clear that Nightmare Academy is so confident going in without a Symmetra in their face.
Oh, absolutely. It allows them to play a little bit more aggressively. The level 3 beam was a big problem before Nightmare Academy all last round, or all last map, but now Juven popping over their overclock Key, already being able to find one. How much longer is Nightmare Rotation going to stay in this fight?
Probably not that much longer right there. Juven able to find another. Putter, though, is going to try to keep them in this one. It's gotten rid of one. You see Camera Low ends up being taken out as well. Carry there to help finish things around, so inevitably it will come through. However, everyone will get the forward respawns for Nightmare Academy.
But right now, if you are InControl, you're just trying to reset these spawns here. With this, you have the numbers. You should be able to. I don't think Snoll's going to throw their body and just holding onto it here. And you look at InControl here. 4 ultimates coming up online. Only 2, maybe 3 if Putter is able to build to a pulse bomb. So this is a point where, if you're InControl, I'm surprised they're actually playing a little bit passive here, but they want to try to find some advantage here early on. Tectonic Shock out here from Kaori.
100%. Could be a rough situation. Annihilation is at the ready. Unread is going to have the beat ready. Pulls it early. Key's on a rough situation, but beat comes counteracting pretty much immediately right now. With this Annihilation could be absolutely massive. Rough scenario as they couldn't really commit to either side, so both annihilating Ramachas kind of had to sit there, let things happen, but Camera with the Consider Rush could be the deal breaker, but Key, all they can do is block and block away. Lucana, though, eventually the one to fall over. Unri gets out of there alive. Putter going to stall out a little while longer to get out there. We'll be able to get a quick reset, but that is an important fight to win for InControl.
Putter was almost just a big difference maker there in that fight for something that involved no damage. They just took the bot away. They were trying to do exactly what they did back on Dorado, stealing the card away, forcing InControl to just turn back, but the investment there from Key with that Annihilation was a difference maker for them. Wow, though, as Snow will have their ults ready to go this fight. InControl has nothing, so it really comes down to, can you find a first pick? Putter, though, again, still just being a pest in that back line here. Just playing like a Tracer really should.
100%, you see that investment right there. Continue Rush is ready, thrown across the way, but Putter is dead. Juven gets rid of another already. Eventually is going to get taken down. Snow does have the ability to invest in this fight as well. I think just maybe wants to try to play a little bit safe here. Key, though, is super low. Gonna be thrown in. Snow is gonna get way out of there right now. Wants to try to keep Lucana alive. Successfully does so. You can try to retouch here. I don't know how worth it is right here, as Snow's still holding out on the investment.
Worth it enough. They stopped the forward spawns right there. Half the time bank now gone. But again, Juven's been such a difference maker here for this InControl team. The maps they have really won. Kaori, we haven't really mentioned them a lot this map, but they're playing an excellent bench, just being able to push people back towards their own team. Led to a lot of kills already. But Lucana already in that Nemesis form, pops the arms to keep him alive. Overclock out here from Snow, looking to make a difference.
Yeah, Key is taking a ton of damage right here, but everybody still managing to hang in there. Snow not able to find a hole at the end of the day. Juven, though, hoping to find some inherent value. Gets unread right in the face right here. Putter trying to hang out on that backline. Juven eventually going to be taking down Key. Really far out from that Annihilation, though, so while there is plenty of pressure, Carry trying to keep them inside of it. Inevitably, Key going to be taken out. Lucana going to help bring them the other way, and that is a really big fight, man, once again here.
Yeah, great fight win there for Nightmare Academy. And Hunter, we talk about a lot on this map, me and you. South America, no matter what push map it is, 50-50 fights. You have this lead. You're getting it forward spawns back now if you're Nightmare Academy. However, you want to have a little bit of a better lead here. 15 meters, not necessarily enough. You want to get around that 30-meter range. Then the 50-50 fights will really start to take a little bit more of effect here. Look, you already see them backing off. They're going to be taking this, taking space, falling back, taking space, falling back. Ultimate's still going to be online here for both sides. Expect to see 4. I imagine it's going to be Continue Rushes out from both sides before we see anything else.
Yeah, Putter does have a pulse bomb, though. I mean, double Continue Rush, double Annihilation. I don't think they wanted to take a fight until they knew they were going to have their rush online, though. Obviously, you're not going to win that fight if you do not have the rush activated. But you just have Lucana just sitting right here, constantly showing out the boy, and there it comes, the activation. Continue Rush going to be thrown in from both sides. Lucana, again, is trying to survive in the corner, has the Annihilation sitting by. Eventually, he's going to pop it to go stay alive. Feet activated. One Leaf Clover gets it online, though, as Putter has been taken care of. And now the squad beginning to move forward. Still trying to make sure Lucana can stay alive as both Annihilations going to run out. Putter is the only ultimate really online for the moment right now. You're right around the corner if you're Snow. But even with that win right there, Lucana has to start backing out here. They can't stabilize.
I mean, right now, Nightmare Academy should just kind of fall back here without Putter, who is back in the picture now with that pulse bomb.
Could not have been a better target that you could kill in that situation. You still have Key, who has an Annihilation at the ready. Doesn't find an immediate target. Big cleanse, and Key is in no man's land with that. Snow gets rid of One Leaf Clover. Key, all they can do is stagger out and die as Point headed back the other way, as this lead should be able to extend further.
50-50 fights, Hunter. We talk about it a lot. We already talked about it one time here. Key now going back over to the Ramatra, like we've said, left a lot to be desired against that in that EU Takeover series. This might be the difference maker here now. 2 minutes, so you do not want this lead to get any more. Snow, overclock radio. Juven has one as well. As we see dueling ones here, Juven's been able to find a lot more value with them throughout the night here.
Yeah, he's barely alive. Putter barely getting out of there as well, but Juven does have a big investment tool for the squad, and here we go, heading into it. Takes Unread's head off again. You're just going to see Snow get out of there as one, ends up being deleted. Key is back over on that Mauga now, as they're going to be able to help clear out House. Putter just got to hang around the back line, as unfortunately for Lau, is going to die late, and those forward spawns looking unlikely now.
Forward spawns should... Yeah, Lau's going to be the only one that I think does not get them here.
Wait,
Putter,
no!
Wait, all there?
They got it!
Yes, got it. Huge play there by Putter to make sure they get Lau in. Annihilation about to be online with that Continue Rush and the overclock. Continue Rush ready here, and the beat could be ready as well for InControl. Again, you can win the fight with those here, but Snow, if they can land a couple overclock shots, it just opens up so much here for Nightmare Academy.
Yeah, big investment here from Key, who is, I mean, in a rough situation. This Malga, he's gonna struggle a lot, but Juven opens things up beautifully. Pulse bomb thrown in. You're gonna see the B drop come in as well. Lucana, rough situation, gets drilled inward. As everyone gonna be able to restabilize, dying over on the point here. Key gonna help them invest, but remember, they have not capped the forward spawn, so that cart is going to stop your forwards.
Yeah, about 5 seconds to get a stop for. You have really a 27-meter lead here, so it's still one fight territory right now for Nightmare Academy. You have your overclock, which Snow's been holding onto it for a while, and a beat. And InControl just invested a lot in that last fight just to win it here, and Potter doing exactly what they've done for the last 2 maps, being a pest, stopping the car, 1 leaf clover. Who needs to stay alive?
Yeah, but does it, and now Key trying to drill in, is running out of cooldown though, needs to be kept up, and it is Snow hoping to send this further away, beat by Unread, everybody running for the hills, Carry, Juven can't get away, and we will be headed to a 5th and final map here. InControl, so close, but no cigar.
Again, I think the Malga swap, like we said, left a lot to be desired in that EU takeover series. Really actually looked good. This map for InControl, it was just a little bit too late. I think you have an extra minute. I think you find a little bit more value, maybe even get the map win as well. But Nightmare Academy, this is what we talked about with them. They need to have one map they thought was going to be theirs, and now you're forcing InControl to take us to a Flashpoint map where if anyone goes back and watches that EU takeover series, you know that one was rough there for InControl, but the Symmetra is back for them now. So I think this is going to be a best v best, and if you're InControl, well, who do you ban out here? Because they can't ban out Sim again.
I'll bring out a really interesting point here, because this is something that didn't happen last season. Hybrid and Flashpoint are combined, so the pool is actually opened up for them. But regardless, they're taking it Shambali. It's Escort.
I forgot about that.
I don't hate it. It falls into the Ramatra style. I don't know how much plays into the overall style for both of these squads here, but honestly, if it's anything to see from what we have seen throughout the series, I don't mind this pick whatsoever, but I think the ban is going to be, I mean, I can't stress how important it is, honestly.
It's going to be really big here, and remember, both me and you did watch back InControl series against EU Takeover. Shambali Monastery was the final map, and we really thought that was their best map. They seemed to put everything together. It was just some incredible ult uses by EU Takeover that stopped InControl from really capping the first point, being able to do much, and then still, even on the attacking side or the defense side for InControl, they did a really good job being able to control the map. Just again, good ultimate usage there by EU Takeover. Really was able to get them through and win that map there. But you can see InControl gonna be attacking here first. It looks like, as Nightmare Academy got to pick that ban, though, gonna be here for InControl, and it's gonna be very important for it. Like you said, is this a I feel like this might be Tracer if we haven't seen that already.
I think Putter's gotten away with enough to where you might not want to deal with it. Honestly, it feels like the go-to pick. I don't think anything you want in that support department, because you are just mirroring supports at this point. There's no reason to go in that department. Maybe you take away an option, but I don't think it's very necessary. I think you need to take a shot at either Snow or Putter here, but you can't do it with Snow because, I mean, you see Juven doing so good over on the Sojourn as well. You can't take that away. Tracer feels like the obvious pick, but we'll see momentarily.
It just feels like the obvious pick really does. Like we kind of saw the last 2 maps, Putter was able to really force InControl to have to focus on either the payload or the bot. You go back to Dorado, they were on the 3rd point, being able to force InControl to rotate back because, hey, they wouldn't start back capping. Yuri is the ban.
Which is?
I don't hate it, but it's been something that both teams have been using. However, InControl has to feel like they have a much better solution on that back line.
You would think so as well. We'll see if that ends up being the situation, as Night Rotation has their own ban in place. Remember, I'm pretty sure they've already gotten rid of the Ramatra. They've already gotten rid of the Symmetra as well. 2 of the big tools have already been taken. It's a situation where maybe you could get rid of the Soj if you feel that Juven is just doing better on it, but obviously you don't want to put Snow in that kind of situation either. It is a double-edged sword is what I'm trying to say here, but you could exchange that out and go something like a Mei instead and try to do these wall rotations.
well, you also have to remember we have seen Snow play Ash. We have seen him. No, we haven't seen him play Freya, but Ash was something we saw him play map 1, and it worked out very well for them. I think Bob as well, when we did see it on map 2 for both sides, worked out very well for each, or on Kings Row, worked out for both teams there too. So, I mean, like, that's what I said earlier, where if you ban out a hit scan, there's always other hit scan options. Soja's has been the go-to for both teams throughout the night, but Ash has really been able to find a decent amount of time as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Junker Queen.
That is, honestly, I don't hate it. At the end of the day, Junker Queen can have inherent value, but I think this is another situation of them just not having a pick that they definitively feel like, hey, this can shut this down right here. But to be fair, this is also the final map. There is no coming back from the situation if something just pops off, and there's nothing you can do about it from there.
Yeah, there really isn't. The Junker Queen, that was a very interesting pick. I feel like Nightmare Academy was just kind of like, we can't really ban out something on the DPS line because it really hurts us as well. We already used the Sim, and like I said, going into last map, Sim was probably the right move there. You wanted to force a map 5. I feel like Sim's been able to do a lot against you here. Kaori, at least teasing us in spawn with a Widow, but you look at the other side here. Lau coming out on the Juno because there is no Kiri this map. Unread, they've been playing this Brig really decently throughout the night. Putter, not going to get on the Tracer. Going over to the Echo instead. I like this a little bit more, especially because I just don't think InControl really expect it here. Key, going back and forth to put some tanks here right now. I think they're going to be sticking with their mantra. I think it's the right thing to do. I really do. Juven, I imagine, going to be using the Sonar Arrow and then going back and making a swap over to the Freya. Or actually, Sonar Arrow out right there already. I don't think it saw anyone, but...
I think it catched on to Lucana at like the last second, but I can't imagine Juven's going anywhere longer than just those few shots. Yep, head back over to the Sojourn. Carry also going to go back over to the Symmetra as well.
And again, it's kind of what we expect to see here from InControl. They need to do exactly what they did back underwater, be able to flip the map here. This is what actually found them a lot of success against EU Takeover on this map as well, up until they got to the second choke here on this first point push. Then it started to really not work out for them as well as EU Takeover was able to rotate back through.
Yeah, and they're looking for that back rotation. Everybody going to be able to go through. Shield comes through momentarily, going to keep everybody going. They're going to try to rotate on this backside. You see how fast Lucana is to simply flip this one around. You know, make it a difficult situation to actually deal with. But this beam is going to be so difficult to deal with if Lucana is caught out inside of it. That shield's going to run out quickly, but Cameron has been taken care of. Juven, though, more than happy to try to keep these going. Weird situation as Lucana in squad will be able to recover. Unfortunately, it doesn't really work out.
Only Clover trying to do what they can there, but not going to be able to do much. And, I mean, really, if you were InControl right there, you're hoping to find one more pick, because one more pick might have actually forced Nightmare Academy to kind of rotate back a little bit, give up some space here, because they really did not have enough there. And InControl could have rushed back out, but you now see him just playing cart here for a brief moment, and Nightmare Academy actually doing a good job splitting the path here. Going to force a lot of hard choices here now for InControl.
Yeah, Lucana is stopping that cart from the high ground. Isn't going to be able to do that forever as we see the rotation come through here on the high ground. Some big punches as Key just gets obliterated right here. Everybody is simply going to run in. Snow has gotten rid of 2 right now. You see the investment. Everybody cleared out. You get a little bit of extra distance if you're Only Clover, but unfortunately, this is not getting anywhere.
No, it's not, and you need to be able to figure out something here for InControl, because it's the same kind of pattern they fell into with EU Takeover. They just weren't able to really, at a certain point, get back to the cart and be able to push it here. You look at Nightmare Academy, duplicate, Orbital Ray, Annihilation, almost the overclock online here for them. They need to find InControl needs to find a pick here early on to give them some sort of momentum. Only Clover might be forced to use that beat.
100% might be forced to right here. We'll see what the situation is. A ton of ult about to be ready. And Matrix from Cameron. First and foremost, going to get a lot of space. Lucana super low. Might be forced to use Annihilation here shortly. Copy coming up online as Putter going to sub in momentarily. Going to take a bunch of heat, though. Knocked out of it, and Keith very quick to try to clear things out, but Snow, they have popped off big time throughout the day, trying to cut through. Everybody getting low beat, expended, Annihilation, everything in the kitchen. Safety is thrown into this fight right here. It's going both ways. Snow is hoping to find a second one, is unsuccessful for the time being. Key, though, need some carriage to stay up here, and TP is timed out perfectly. They have to abandon ship, though, and they're in an awkward situation now.
They're in a very awkward situation. Jubin gets shut down!
Oh, no. And Lucana, if they go down, it could be big, but unfortunately, it's just not going to happen. You managed to get rid of Lau, though. He gets rid of another. This restabilizes right here. I don't know. Yeah, they're going to hold on. They're going to have form here. Kito peeks unnecessarily, by the way. Unread is going to finish it off, and that peek from Key that's devastating.
I mean, right now, though, Nightmare Academy is not really going to push their luck here. They're going to give up some space here for free. This should allow InControl to come back in, but you only have the Amage to come in here, while Lucana, that Annihilation, it could be a deal breaker here for them. They need to be able to get something here going first. Like I said, first pick really helps them out here. Are they going to look to flip the map? I don't think they really can at this point. Overtime, going to commence here any moment, and you'll lose Jubin. You've lost the Spark Plug.
Yeah, you have Cameron needs to be able to stay alive. And now this could be as simple as an Annihilation, and Hope's starting to go down the drain. Touches are available for some time right here, but Cameron is just going to get ran down, and this is going to be a full hold here. And unfortunately, it could be a repeat, a potential nightmare, as only 64 meters separates Nightmare Academy from their first win.
I mean, again, this was the map that InControl decided to bring us to. I thought they looked good on against EU Takeover, even though they got held on first point. But Nightmare Academy here did everything right. They played that high ground perfectly. They did not allow the TPs from Kaori to find a lot of value. And I think when the Photon Barrier came out, Nightmare Academy actually did exactly what they needed to do, just kind of hold their ground and then wait a moment for the more investment that we saw there from InControl, and then respond with their own investment. A huge ult fight happened, and Nightmare Academy came out on top, even losing some members there. You saw InControl tried to flip the map there a couple times, got to work once, but they killed 1 or 2 members of Nightmare Academy. So when they came back in, you were basically a pincer maneuver by mistake there, and Nightmare Academy took advantage of it here. However, this is doable for InControl, but it's going to be difficult.
It's going to be very difficult. And real quick, thank you, Bullskunk, sending everybody over for what is the final round of this Map 5 matchup. Extremely excited for it, as, I mean, you're right about this whole situation. This is, I think with the way this is set up, this could essentially be a one-fight loss kind of situation, because inevitably they're going to have to give some of this up because they are playing a more poke-like style. But to be fair, that is what you have been seeing Academy do the entire time of this map.
Yeah, and you're looking at Jubin now getting off of the Soj, going over to the Ashe instead. Dynamite can be very important here, but you already see Putter taking an off angle, just trying to get some damage up there. Force a little bit of a disruption here on this high ground, as, I mean, at this point, if you're InControl, you cannot really be dislodged from where you're playing.
You can't at all. Remember, one pick is potentially going to settle this whole thing right here. Key is going to constantly be able to stall out this payload. Has to be very careful, though, as it is inching forward. It's gotten past the point of being able to reasonably stop it. As you see, Key eventually have to simply drop down. Is going to get drilled into. That beam is charging off the barrier, though, so you're going to have it momentarily for Kaori, but still needs to be able to restabilize, as this high ground is in a bit of a rough position. Lucana, though, going to be forced out momentarily as the cart's still inching forward.
Unread has it right now, and again, we saw this a lot from Nightmare Academy. Just take the cart, force InControl to play it in the past, and they did that here. TP down there for Key if they need to get out, but that TP gonna be destroyed here, as the map has been flipped here by Nightmare Academy. One of the few times all night they've been able to do that.
Yeah, but as long as Key is alive, that cart reasonably shouldn't be able to go anywhere, but it's gonna be really tough to keep Key alive. I mean, consistently, but you see a full reset. Honestly, they could be setting up to do a rotation up onto that high ground, because above else, they need to keep getting alive.
Kind of looking at Putter here to find an assassination. They're setting up for it, trying to get in, but the turret's actually from Kaori going to be able to slow him down here. Still map flipped here, and you're still waiting for a first pick. I honestly think if there's no picks here, it's kind of playing into InControl's hands.
Yeah, and everybody is separated momentarily. We kind of have some people coming back together, but they're flipping the map back, throwing them away. Unfortunately, Cameron by themselves in the room, and Matrix thrown out. Everything going different ways, but it's Putter and Lucana finishing people around. Key, though, is still hanging around the car, which is really important to stall this out for as long as humanly possible, but it is essentially a 3-on-1 situation. Key, all they can do is stall, pray that the team gets back in time. Without Key, this one could be set and match.
It could be here, but you do see InControl getting back here as fast as they can. KR not that far away from a photon barrier. That's been important for them in the past, but Key has always been a figure in that. They need to get a touch.
Oh, no.
Orbital Ray out, not going to be able to get there in time. NTMR Academy, we talked about it after map 3 when InControl went up 2-1. Were they out of this series? No, they were not. The right bands went their way. They made the sim ban on map 4 to get them here. And then they just played excellent defense. And again, if you're InControl, not the result you're looking for here. You now fall 0-3, but this was a much improved series for them. You have to take the small victories. But at the end of the day, small victories don't get you a lot in Faceit League here. But again, a much improved performance here from InControl compared to what we saw in the first 2 series against EU Takeover and Amplify. But NTMR Academy, we talked about, we did not know what to expect from this team. There was that rust. They got rid of that rust though, maps 4 and 5, and they come out victors on top of this one here. 1-0 now.
Yeah, and it's obviously a heartbreaker for InControl in this situation, so close yet so far away. But still, I think they have to be happy with the progress that they have made here today. I think their style can work. I think it can work and shoot incredibly high. I think they are finding their way of refining it still, and I think they've gotten better and better at it. And this is the same squad that, you know, before didn't have the greatest start last season, but still went on a run at the end, managed to maintain a spot to be able to stay in Masters Division. We'll see if they'll be able to stay inside of it here, because, I mean, they do end up having a bit of a rougher side of things with who they went up against. EU Takeover is a really strong squad right out the gate, but they are going up against another squad that moments ago just met their own map 5 loss, Element Garden, which should be a really interesting matchup. And for InControl, that might be the match that they need to just propel them forward the season.
Yeah, I mean, this was a really good matchup here for InControl. Even though they lose, like I said, there's a lot you can take away from it. Moral victories, small victories, but you really want to get that complete victory. Element Academy, it should be a good matchup there for InControl. And if they're able to get that win, I mean, Iliad Artemis right there, a really good team last season, but InControl, I mean, they were able to surprise a lot of people towards the end of the season. They might have to start that a little bit earlier this season around here. If they can win their next 2 games, it would really help them, because then after that, you have Dreamland, Extinction, Shiki, Emote down mid, NTMR, Boop Troop, running into essentially a lot of the teams that a lot of people expect to be at the top throughout this entire season. But NTMR Academy, my bad. Get their first win here. First game, end of week 2. They have a couple more games coming up here. They have a game, I believe, Sunday. Then I believe they play again on Tuesday. And then they get into another Wednesday and Friday game. So they're playing a lot of games here in a short amount of time, as a lot of teams are, as a lot of them have just been rescheduling here to start off the season.
Yeah, OWCS weekend will do that to you right there, but playing those games in quick succession, we saw last season, sometimes it does great things for teams, sometimes it doesn't. We've seen it go both ways. They have EU Takeover as that first matchup, and with the teams they have on here, they could go on a potential run throughout that week. I mean, Artemis, Garden, Helios, teams they could beat. Amplify, I think EU Takeover also would be a pretty good challenge, but we'll see what the case is going to be down the line, as for the time being, that is reasonably going to do it for the night. But I think we had a couple of really good matches on our hands. I think we got to see a lot of the strengths that between South America and North America here. I didn't expect this game to go to map 5, but I'm so extremely happy that we got to that point here. And obviously, it's a heartbreaker for InControl, but I really hope they bounce back from the situation, take the strengths that they got from that, because this is the farthest they've gotten to a win, or the closest, I should say, to a win they have been all season. And it's a heartbreaker, but they are a good team, honestly.
Yeah, again, we watched back their last series. This looked like a completely different team here. Again, just need to get over the hump, and I think once they get a 1 win, there's going to be a lot more of that follow. They could go on a little bit of a run here. NTMR Academy, good way to start off the season here for them. Good luck to them in their next couple games here. But Hunter, 8 maps today. Really, really good games for the 2 that we had.
Yeah, that is 11 total for me on the day. I'm an exhausted man at this stage of the game. I've had a very long day, and I'm gonna sit back, relax, pour me a cup of Pepsi, and play some Yakuza. That is my night, ladies and gentlemen. But I hope your night is just as good as mine. Thank you all for joining us. Obviously, we'll post the schedule as soon as we reasonably can, because obviously games like to be rescheduled. Hee hee ha ha. Funny times we live in here. But we appreciate y'all being here. Please join us next time for some more Faceit League action. Have yourselves a fantastic night.